So I was asked a question recently by one of my online mobility students, and I think this question is probably one that some other people might have, so I want to go over it here in this video. The question was about what to do if we're doing an external rotation pails and rails from 90-90. So leaning forward here, trying to create that hip stretch, and the student was unable to feel the rails very much. They could push their foot down into the floor for pails, but pulling the foot off the floor for rails didn't result in a very strong contraction. Now, assuming that you are doing the pails and rails correctly, so you are driving the foot down with the intention of rotating your thigh inwards, and then for rails we're lifting the foot up with the intention of rotating the thigh outwards. If you're doing that correctly, then it might be a large difference between your active range of hip external rotation and your passive range of hip external rotation. So what I suggest for those of you who can't feel that rails contraction in your thigh is we need to back away from the position of stretch. So in order to feel what that contraction is like, we need to give ourselves enough space in 90-90 to actually feel or create motion. So if I lean, my left leg is forward now, if I lean away to my left, that's going to tilt my pelvis sideways, all right? And the more sideways I tilt, or the farther I lean to the left, the less external rotation is now present at my leg. So if I'm all the way over on my elbow, I can lift my foot up now. I have room to externally rotate my leg because I'm within my active range of motion. If you're over here on your elbow and you still can't lift your foot up, that's fine. Try straightening your other leg or dropping even farther down into your left side. So if you can do this, you come to your side, to your elbow, and you can lift your foot up, you'll feel the rails contraction. That sensation in here in your thigh, that is rails. So if that goes well, you can go back into your passive stretch. Try pails and rails again. If you're still having trouble with that rails, then it's most likely that your active passive difference is pretty big and you just have trouble controlling the rails. And if that's the case, what I suggest is progressively moving from the position where you can lift your foot toward the position where you cannot lift your foot. So the sequence would look something like this. I would start here and say, okay, I can lift. That's what rails feels like. So now I'm going to lift up and hold, and I'm going to sit upright until my foot touches the floor. And now we're at the edge of our active range. And I can do a pails and rails rep here to build strength and teach my nervous system about creating force here. So I'll push down just like normal, hold that pails, and then try to lift. And then I might even get a little inch or two of lift after that initial pails. Once we've done a couple here and you're still feeling that rails contraction in the thigh, then we can try to sit as vertically as possible through our torso, which further externally rotates the leg. We'll try again, pails, rails. Okay, I can't move here, but I can feel that contraction. And then the last step is to lean forward into that position of stretch. And now with that knowledge of what rails should feel like, push down, try to lift up. Hopefully you can get some sort of contraction there. And if you cannot, then I would suggest backing out until the point where you can feel it, or just keep trying, use your mind and your willpower, see if you can pull that rails. One other thing you can do, regardless of the position that you choose to set up in, is you can give yourself some tactile feedback. Our body responds really well to physical touch and direction through that touch. So if you want to increase the strength of the rails contraction, whether you can feel it or not, when you try to lift your foot up, lightly touch your fingers onto the inside of your ankle and tell yourself, hey, push up into that contact. And by pushing up into that contact, you're going to be able to ramp that contraction up that much higher. Okay? If you're having trouble finding the rails, give all that stuff a shot and let me know how it feels.